people out if they had planned on coming at 2. So the talk you're in is the state of the Switchvox. I'm going to cover sort of where we are now with Switchvox and where we're going. My name's Tristan Barnum. In the past, I have addressed you in a number of different ways. I was one of the original founders of Switchvox, and I've given some talks at AstroCon in that capacity. More recently, I was the director of product marketing for Switchvox and have just recently moved into the product management group so I can be closer to all of you guys who hopefully will be out there installing, selling, playing with, poking around with, developing for Switchvox. So I'm now the product line director for business phone systems at Digium. And you may have seen a slide like this before. Danny shows it pretty frequently. And I just want to point out sort of where Switchvox fits in the whole hierarchy of Digium and our organization. Really, as Asterisk has grown into a disruptive force in the market, there's more and more businesses that are considering how Asterisk can help them. But getting an Asterisk system to replace their old proprietary PBX isn't necessarily that simple if you're an SMB. You're going to need something that's put together in a way that is easy to deploy, easy to understand, and really takes a layer of complexity away from what the administrator might be doing if you're going to reach a broad audience of SMBs. And that's really who Switchvox is for. Switchvox is designed specifically for small, medium businesses, and we have 3 different boxes that we sell Switchvox on, sort of a small, medium, large situation. The largest one scales up to 400 users, and they can all be paired together. So if you're looking at a distributed enterprise, a place that has lots of locations, Switchvox really does well in that capacity. The other key to know about Switchvox is that it's really easy to use. We have a point-and-click GUI so that all the interaction that you're doing with the system is available through that UI. How many people in here have never seen the Switchvox GUI before? Cool. So I have a slide later on to show you some of the sort of finer, cooler things about it. But really, it's designed so that you don't have to call us every time you can't get to something you'd like to change about the underlying Asterisk. Our goal was to bring up the features and the options that you would want to fidget with in a very easy way. Switchvox is sold primarily through a value-added reseller network. So Digium has a distribution network, and a lot of those distributors are here, and a lot of the resellers are here. And so we have hundreds of partners around the world, and we have online certifications for not just Asterisk, but Digium provides certification now for Switchvox as well. Switchvox is actually the fastest portion of Digium that's growing. So we are growing faster than any other part of our product lines. And Switchvox is really inexpensive because it's built on open source software, not because it lacks features. So there's this common misconception when a customer or an end user looks at the price of Switchvox and is comparing it to a Cisco system or an Avaya system, and they go, man, what is this thing missing? The answer is really nothing. And the reason it's inexpensive, of course, it's built on normal PC hardware, and it's running a ton of open source projects, including Asterisk, that are all fit together to make a PBX designed for SMBs. So all those features really let it win over the proprietary solutions. And I just want to talk a little bit about what those features are. I'm going to blow through this because if you're familiar with Switchvox, you know that it does a lot of stuff. So of course, we do voice through voice over IP and traditional lines and T1s. We send that out over SIP to any SIP endpoint, if that's a soft phone or a Polycom phone or Astrophone, whatever it is. We also have chat in the form of XMPP at the back end so that that's all incorporated. Instead of asking a small business to buy a separate chat server, it's all in there. We have presence. So it's driven by a bunch of different dimensions, actually. With Switchvox, you can tell if someone's on the phone. You can tell if they've set their presence in their chat client. We don't have a proprietary chat client that you have to use either because it's XMPP. So all these things talk together, and we do our best to make sure that that's pervasive across whatever communication device you're using. We also have faxing. So Fax for Asterisk rolled out, and we popped that into Switchvox. So same kind of deal there, and Switchvox ships with one concurrent fax license. We also support video in the form of H.263 and 264. So if you're doing a video call, it just magically works. We have unified messaging, so you check your voicemail on the web, you check your voicemail on your cell phone, you check your voicemail on your desk phone, wherever you want to do that. It's all possible, and your lights will all turn off. so you don't have to worry about that. We have Microsoft integration in the form of Notifier. And Notifier is a whole suite of little applications for Windows, including a dialer, integration with Outlook, so that you can click to call. It'll do a little pop-up and read who's calling you. If you have any unread email from that person, if you have an appointment coming up with them that you should probably know about because you're late for it, all of that stuff is built in, and we give that away for free too. Mobility. I'm going to talk a little bit more about our mobility applications, but of course we have Find Me, Follow Me, and some new mobile stuff that we've worked on this year. Conferencing, all built in, Meet Me conferencing, simple conference rooms, just about anything you want to do. Each end user has the ability to control their own conference rooms. So they can set up their own PIN, they can say if they want people to be able to talk or not, if the call should end, if they're out of the room, or what should happen in all those cases. This is, I think, the coolest thing that we do. It is totally underutilized, so I'm hoping, like Astracon, you're my only hope. Please take a look at the Extend API that we have. We have something called Switchvox Developer Central. And you can go in there, take a look at the documentation for this XML API and see exactly what you can do with it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but I could spend hours talking about this thing. It is a very cool API. It's going to allow you to hook Switchvox up to pretty much anything else that you would ever want to hook it up to that's software-based. One of those things that you can do with it is click to call. It kind of used to be a separate feature, and people like to see that pulled out, but we have click to call in kind of every incarnation you could ever want it. Including something called Fire Dialer. We used our Extend API to build a little Firefox plugin, just sort of as a proof of concept. Hey, look how fast and easy it is to build a little plugin, so that any phone number on any web page that you're looking at in Firefox is click to call, which I can't live without anymore. If I'm using your computer and you see me stabbing at phone numbers, that's trying to call. So all these features really work where you work. We try to make sure that wherever it is that you're doing your work, you're seeing the information that's appropriate for your communication. So if you're working in Windows and you're looking at Outlook all the time, and which you might not be, but if you're in a browser, we're showing you the right stuff. You'll see in a minute if you're looking at your phone on your desk, we're showing you the right stuff. So I mentioned the Switchvox GUI. This is part of Switchvox. This is called the switchboard. And what this panel collection is showing you, all these little windows are actually running in a browser. It runs, of course, cross-platform because it's in a browser. And what this is doing is showing me the perspective of one single user on a Switchvox system, what's going on in their world with their phone calls, with their coworkers. And I wish I had a laser thingy, but I don't. Up in the upper left, there's a couple current calls going on. I can put them on hold. I can start recording them. I can drag them around to transfer them. In the middle here, you see a collection of names and extensions. I can see if they're on the phone, if they're not on the phone, if they have an away setting. I can click to chat, click to call, click to intercom. I can drag and drop calls to their mobile phone, click to call that. This is a very centralized whiz-bang thing that I really suggest you come take a look at in the Digium booth in more detail. But these panels over here, each user gets one of these whole switchboards that they can organize however they like. And these panels over here that are custom, where we've got Flickr and D&B and Twitter and Facebook and Google, those are all built using our API in a matter of seconds. If you would like to see me integrate Switchvox with some web property in 2 minutes, come by the booth, and we will do that together. But basically, if your job is, it's very, very important that you see someone's social networking information and their resume when they call in, like if you're in HR, and you want to dip into your Monster database that you've subscribed to for resumes, and you want to look their name up in Blogger, and you want to look up what they might be up to in Facebook. Whenever they call you back, that candidate, before you answer the phone, Switchvox has done you the favor of pulling all that information up for you. So you know a tremendous amount about someone that's calling you before you even answer the phone. This does a whole lot more stuff. I could also spend an hour on here, so I'm going to keep going. In March of 2008, we released 3.5. This was our version of Switchvox that really helped us lay a lot of groundwork to reach larger companies. Then in February of 2009, we released version 4.0, which was our biggest release to date. I know some of you remember that. This really bridged the gap between making Switchvox just a phone system into a unified communication solution. This is where we added chat and fax, video calling. There's a whole bunch of stuff that really helped us there. In January of this year, so now we're getting into what the heck were we up to this past year, we released Switchvox version 4.5. And it extends a lot of the features that we already had in Switchvox out to the phone. So I talked about getting you your communications information, where you're working, in the context of what you're doing. And this is really what 4.5 was about. It also added globalization. So we now have Switchvox in multiple languages. And we were up to something else, too, that I don't have a slide for, but it's OK. We have a whole bunch of them. And so in October of 2010, so right now, a couple weeks ago, we announced version 4.6. And 4.6 is really about your peace of mind. A lot of you have probably heard about or experienced firsthand some of the SIP attacks that have been going on, just related to bad passwords and bad network management and just poor practice across the board by, Asterisk is really accessible, and Switchvox is particularly accessible. So if you're a little dentist's office and want to play with it and don't know anything about networking, you really set yourself up for some serious trouble with bad passwords and things like that. So we tried to mitigate some of that. So let's take a look at what else is inside Switchvox and what we've been up to this year. In January of 2010 was when we did release 4.5, and we took some of the most popular features that are inside Switchvox and pushed them out to the phone in the form of phone feature packs. And phone feature packs are available primarily for Polycom, but also for SNOM phones. Most of the features I'm going to cover, all the cool stuff, is that they're in the Polycoms. They're easy to develop for, and thankfully for us, relatively speaking, they're easy to develop for. Luckily for us, though, the user base of Switchvox, primarily Polycom users. So if you get a phone feature pack, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get automatic detection, first of all, of the phones when you plug them into the network. It's going to find the phones. You're not going to have to type in MAC addresses and go hunting all over the place for those things. And then it's going to configure them. So they're going to come up and get a brain and get an extension and learn where their Switchvox is. But then when you get a call, these applications are going to kick in. So we've got user profiles that show up on the phone display. So instead of just boring caller ID, you get a picture of good old Dave and where he is, what he does, and can see more details. There's also visual voicemail on the phone, so you can see your messages, play them more easily. I love that one. Call recording was one that this has been available in the switchboard and just in Switchvox for a long